The silent meeting. The research station floated quietly above a blue gas giant. It was a place where many alien species came to study each other. Inside this station, in a clean white hallway, a human man named Jace Miller followed two silent guards. He didn't know what to expect. "Where are we going?" Jace asked. No one answered. The doors ahead opened with a soft hiss. Inside the room was only one chair and one strange-looking figure sitting across from it. A girl. An alien girl. She had glowing pale skin, silver eyes, and long soft hair that moved as if in water. Her name was Valari from the Siren species, a race known for powerful mental abilities. She looked calm, almost too calm. Jace entered slowly. The guard stayed outside and shut the door. He sat down. Silence. Valari looked at him closely, her large eyes studying every detail of his face. She didn't speak. She didn't blink. She just watched him. The silence was so strong it felt heavy. Jace cleared his throat. Hey?" No answer. He leaned back, awkward. This was strange. Was she mute? Or angry? Or just shy? Then suddenly, he felt something. His chest tightened, and his heartbeat quickened. He wasn't scared, but he felt something inside his mind, like a soft wind blowing across his thoughts. His memories flickered. Images of his childhood, his first dog, the face of his late mother. "What the hell?" he whispered. Valari finally spoke. Her voice was soft like a whisper in the wind. "You are louder than I expected." Jace stared. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes stayed locked on his, and the strange feeling in his head grew stronger. It wasn't painful, but it was deep, like someone gently touching his emotions, not his body. "I'm not doing anything," Jace said, nervous now. "You don't have to," Valari said. "You're human. Your mind speaks even when your mouth is shut." Outside, the room behind a thick observation window, two alien scientists whispered. "This is not normal," said one. "She has never reacted this way. Humans are supposed to resist connection. Their minds are too unstable." Then why is she still inside his mind? Back in the room, Valari stood up slowly. "They brought you here because they want me to teach you." "Teach me what?" Jace asked. Valari stepped closer. "Mental intimacy." Jace blinked. "Mental what?" "It's what we Sirens share. It's more than thought, more than touch. It is deep connection, feeling each other completely." Jace rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "You already started," Valari said. "I didn't open the bond. You did." "I didn't mean to." She smiled faintly. "That is what makes it strange and dangerous." Jace looked down, confused and overwhelmed. He didn't feel afraid of her. In fact, he felt something warm, something real, even though they had only just met. "I felt your sadness," Valari said, softly. "Your loneliness. And you felt mine." Jace looked up. "You're lonely?" She nodded slowly. "I always am. That's why I teach this, but no one has ever reached into me like you just did." There was a long pause. No one moved. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Then Valari whispered, something that made Jace sit up straight. "You touched my mind. No one has done that before." He didn't know what to say. "You should go now," she said, turning away, "before we both feel too much." The doors opened, the guards returned, but this time Jace didn't want to leave. Something had started, something bigger than science, bigger than curiosity. As he stepped out of the room, he looked back once. Valari was watching him, but her eyes were not calm anymore. They were afraid, and behind the glass the scientists whispered, "What if humans are not the students, but the masters? What is mental intimacy?" The next day, Jace was taken to a different room, round, with no furniture, no windows, and no cameras. just light, soft and white, glowing from the floor itself. Valari was already there, sitting cross-legged, eyes closed. She looked peaceful, but something about her seemed tense. Jace sat down across from her. This time, no guards, no observers, just the two of them. Before he could speak, her voice touched his mind, not his ears. "Do not talk with your mouth," Valari said, without moving her lips. "Talk with your heart." Jace blinked. "Wait, are we speaking telepathically?" Her eyes opened slowly. "No, this is not telepathy. This is intimacy, deep and pure." He looked at her with confusion. "I don't understand." She sighed gently. "Words are limited. Touch is shallow. But the Siren bond is different. It is mind to mind, soul to soul. We feel each other's truth. No lies, no hiding." Jace shifted uncomfortably. "That sounds terrifying." "It is," she said calmly. "And beautiful." Valari leaned forward. Her silver eyes locked onto his, and again that strange wind entered Jace's thoughts. But this time, it was stronger, clearer. He saw flashes, a planet with glowing rivers, a child crying in a dark room, a soft lullaby, sung in a language he didn't know. He gasped. "That was you," he whispered. Valari nodded slowly. "A piece of me." She placed her hand near his, not touching, just close enough. "Now give me a piece of you." Jace closed his eyes. He thought of his little sister who died when he was 10. The pain came back. The guilt. The nights he cried when no one could hear. Suddenly he felt warmth on his face. He opened his eyes. Valari was crying. "Why are you crying?" he asked, shocked. She whispered, "Because your memory hurt me, and I accepted it." Jace didn't know what to say. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "You didn't. You shared. That is the lesson." Outside the room, scientists monitored brain patterns. Charts spiked. One of them shouted, "He's sinking. His emotional field is matching hers." Another gasped, "No alien ever matched her this quickly. It's impossible." Inside, Valari stood and backed away. "You should stop now," she said. Her voice was shaking. "This is happening too fast. The bond is growing." "Why is that bad?" Jace asked, standing too. "Because if we go deeper, I will not be able to hide anything from you, and you will not be able to lie to yourself." He took a breath. "Maybe that's a good thing." She looked at him strangely, as if no one had ever said that before. "Most species fear this connection," she whispered. "They reject it before it begins. But you accepted it without even knowing the rules." Jace gave a small smile. "That's kind of what humans do." Valari slowly walked toward him, stopping just inches away. "In my world, mental intimacy is rare, even among my people. We touch minds only with those we trust completely, but you, Jace, your mind is loud and honest and open." He laughed softly. "You make that sound like a compliment." She looked down. "Maybe it is." Then suddenly the lights in the room dimmed. A voice echoed from a speaker above. "Session complete. Return to your quarters." Jace turned to leave, but paused. "What happens if we keep going?" Valari looked at him. Her voice was soft, serious. "If we continue, you will feel everything I am, and I will feel everything you hide." She hesitated, then added, "There is no going back after that." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, "I'll see you tomorrow." Valari watched him leave, her hand resting on her chest. For the first time in years, her heartbeat was racing, and for the first time in her life, she was afraid, not of pain, but of what she might feel next. The room was colder this time. Jace noticed it the moment he stepped in. The lights were dimmer and a strange hum filled the air. Valari stood in the center, eyes shut, both hands pressed against her temples. She looked like she was in pain. "Are you okay?" he asked, walking forward carefully. Valari opened her eyes slowly. Her voice was tight. "I started without you. I wanted to understand your mind better, but I went too deep." Jace frowned. "Too deep into what?" She looked at him, and for the first time she looked scared. "Your memories, your emotions, they are strong, too strong, like a storm." He hesitated. "Did I hurt you?" She shook her head. "No, but I almost drowned." Jace was quiet. Then he said, "Maybe we should stop." Valari looked away. "No, I want to learn. I need to know why your kind feels so much." They sat on the floor facing each other. This time they both knew what was coming. "Close your eyes," she said. "Let it come to you." Jace obeyed. He focused on one simple thought. His happiest moment. His father lifting him onto his shoulders after a school race. The sun, the cheers, that proud look in his father's eyes. Valari gasped, her hands trembled. So much warmth. "I can feel the wind. The joy, your heart opening." Then, it changed. Without warning, the memory shifted. The image of his father faded, replaced by the hospital bed. The machines, the flatline beep. Valari cried out and clutched her chest. Too fast, pull back." But it was too late. The connection had opened completely. Jace's grief poured into Valari's mind like a flood. Years of guilt, anger, sorrow. Every tear, every silent night, every buried feeling he never spoke about. It all hit her at once. She screamed. Jace's eyes snapped open. Valari was on the floor, curled up, shaking. Her skin glowed brighter, pulses of light racing along her arms. "Valari," he shouted, crawling to her. "Break the connection." She looked at him, and her voice came straight into his head. "You never let go. You hold your pain too tightly." Jace didn't move. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "You didn't," she whispered aloud now. "You shared it. That's what makes it powerful." Suddenly, the walls shimmered. The observation team had activated emergency protocol. 2 guards ran in but stopped when they saw the scene. Valari glowing, Jace kneeling beside her, his hand on hers, eyes locked. "What's going on?" one of them asked. A scientist shouted. From behind the glass, "Don't touch them, they're still mentally linked." But it was too late. Jace squeezed Valari's hand, and instead of pain, she felt peace. A calm wave rolled through her. He was giving her something new now. Not sorrow, but comfort. The strength he had built after loss. The part of him that kept going, even when life fell apart. Valari breathed deeply. Her light dimmed. Her body relaxed. "They feel everything," she whispered, amazed. "Humans feel more and recover faster." Jace smiled a little. "That's just what we do." The scientists were frozen, watching data jump to impossible numbers. One of them whispered, "We never reached this level with any species, but this human..." He opened her core. A different scientist spoke slowly. "She's not teaching him anymore. He's teaching her." Inside the room, Valari sat up again. Her eyes glowed, but softer this time. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "For what?" Jace asked. "For thinking you were weak. For thinking you couldn't handle the bond." He looked at her, serious now. "What happens next?" Valari didn't answer for a moment. Then she said, "Next time, we go deeper." And somewhere inside her, a strange new feeling began to grow. Hope. Valari was gone. For 2 whole days, Jace sat alone in his small quarters on the space station. No meetings, no updates, no word from the researchers. The connection, whatever it was, had been cut off without warning. He couldn't stop thinking about her. He didn't understand why it hurt so much. They had only met a few times. They barely even touched. and yet it felt like she had reached inside him and lit a fire that now wouldn't go out. A quiet knock broke the silence. Jace rushed to the door and opened it, but it wasn't Valari. It was Dr. Halloran, the lead alien researcher, a tall, gray-skinned being with 4 narrow eyes and a sharp tone. "The Siren ambassador has requested her removal," Halloran said flatly. "Valari is being sent home." Jace stepped back. "Why?" "You already know," Halloran replied. "She's begun feeling things she shouldn't. About you." Jace's voice was low now. "So you're punishing her for connecting?" "No," Halloran said. "We're saving her from what she might become." Then he left. That night Jace couldn't sleep. He kept hearing her voice in his mind. Not real words, just feelings. Regret, sadness, longing. Something had changed in their last session. It wasn't just shared memory or emotion. It was trust. Deep and real. And now it was being ripped away. He couldn't let that happen. At midnight, he left his room and slipped past the patrolling droids. He made his way through the quiet halls until he reached the restricted wing. The door had a Siren seal on it, a glowing blue sigil. He placed his hand on the scanner. Red light. Access. Denied. He gritted his teeth. Then he closed his eyes and tried something crazy. He thought of Valari, not just her face. He remembered how it felt to be near her, the pulse of her emotions inside his mind. He opened his heart again, like before. And something happened. The scanner blinked. Green light. The door slid open. Inside, the room was dark and cold. Valari stood by the glass window staring out at the stars. She didn't move as he entered. She already knew he was there. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "I couldn't sleep," Jace replied. She turned and her eyes were different. Dimmer, uncertain. "You came into a restricted zone," she said. "They'll punish you." "I don't care," Jace said. "I needed to see you." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Valari whispered, "I felt you, even after they cut the link. It's never happened before. No one has ever stayed inside." Jace stepped closer. "They think this bond is dangerous. Maybe they're right." "Yes," she said, "but I don't want it to stop." Valari's voice trembled. "Neither do I." She reached for his hand but stopped, just short. "If I touch you," she said, "it won't be physical. It will be total. You'll see. All of me. Even the things I'm ashamed of." Jace nodded. "Then see all of me too." She placed her hand in his. The moment they touched, the world around them vanished. They were not in the room anymore. They were in a field under a sky full of swirling stars. A dream, a shared memory? No, this was their combined mindscape. Valari stood beside him, barefoot, glowing. She looked at him, not as a subject, not as a test, but as something more. "I was trained never to feel," she said, "only to guide, to teach." Jace looked at her. "Then what are you feeling now?" She was silent for a moment. Then she said it. "Desire. For you." Jace took a step closer. "Not just physical?" "No," she said. "That's the easiest part. What I want is your presence, your strength, your pain, your honesty. I want it all." Jace's chest tightened. "That sounds like love." Valari didn't know the word in her language. But the emotion? She knew it now. "I was told, humans are too wild," she whispered, "too broken, too chaotic." He smiled. "They're right. But maybe that's why we're strong." She stepped into him. Their hands met, their minds fully aligned. She felt his fear of losing her. He felt her hope that someone could stay. And then they both felt something else. Peace. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the station. The link had triggered a level red psychic surge. In the observation deck, monitors went black, readings spiked off the charts, and systems crashed. Scientists shouted, "They're merging! Shut it down! Now! Inside the room, Valari opened her eyes. They'll come, she said. Let them, Jace replied, but she knew what the others would do. They would never accept this bond. It was too deep, too human, too dangerous. She pulled away. Jace grabbed her shoulders. Don't run. I'm not, she said. I'm choosing. Then she kissed his forehead. Siren style, a deep gesture of eternal trust, and whispered, Tomorrow I will tell them. I won't leave. I will fight to stay. Jace stepped back, stunned. You're sure? Yes, she said. Because for the first time I'm not just teaching mental intimacy, I'm living it. And as the guards stormed in, weapons ready, they found two beings sitting in calm silence. Hands locked, minds bonded, unbreakable. Valari stood before the council. 12 alien figures sat in a curved line, all watching. Her with cold, unreadable expressions. Some had no eyes. Some had no mouths, but all of them radiated disapproval. The Siren elder, tall and veiled in blue light, spoke first. You were sent here to teach, not to feel, not to bond. Valari bowed her head slightly. I know. But the bond formed naturally. The elder's voice grew sharper. With a human? She nodded. Yes. A low murmur spread through the room. One counselor slammed his hand on the table. Impossible. Siren minds do not bond with outsiders. Valari looked up, calm and steady. This one did, and it changed me. Meanwhile, Jace sat alone in his room, but not truly alone. He could still sense Valari, not clearly, but like a distant echo in his chest. Whenever he focused, he felt warmth. It was her. He stared at the wall, remembering every moment, the memory sharing, the emotional flood, the dreamlike bond. It wasn't just attraction anymore, it was something deeper, something rare. He stood up. They won't let her stay, he whispered. Not unless I do something. Back in the council chamber, the Siren elder gave his final judgment. You are forbidden from continuing the bond. Return home, or lose your status forever. Valari stood frozen. Then a voice echoed from the chamber doors. She doesn't have to leave. Everyone turned. Jace walked into the room, alone, unarmed, and completely serious. You're afraid of this bond, he said. Because it's different. Because you didn't expect a human to be part of it. A counselor shouted, You are not allowed here. Jace kept going. You study emotion. You claim to understand connection, but when it happens in a new way, you panic. Valari's eyes widened. Jace, he turned to her. Tell them what you told me. That you chose me. Valari stepped forward. He's right. I chose him. The room fell into shocked silence. The Siren elder rose. Then you are no longer Siren. But Valari didn't look afraid. She reached for Jace's hand and held it. Then I will be something new. The council collapsed into debate. While they argued, Jace and Valari were taken to isolation quarters. No walls, no doors, just a glowing barrier field surrounding them like a prison bubble. They sat on the floor, shoulder to shoulder. Do you regret it? He asked. Valari shook her head. No. Even if they exile me forever, I would still choose you. Jace smiled. I thought humans were supposed to be the emotional ones. She looked at him. You are. But that's what makes you powerful. Suddenly, the room trembled. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. A voice shouted from the intercom. Unknown ship entering orbit. Shield breach in 3 minutes. Jace jumped to his feet. What's going on? Valari turned pale. It's them, the Mind-Eaters. He stared at her. What? A psychic species. They attack not with weapons but with emotion. They flood you with pain until you collapse. The Siren can't resist them. No one can. Jace looked at the glowing walls. Then we need to get out of here. Valari grabbed his hand. No, wait. Maybe we can do something. What do you mean? She took a breath. The mind eaters destroy by overwhelming emotion. But you and I, we survived that. Together. Maybe we're not just immune. Maybe we're the cure. Jay stared at her. You're saying we fight with the bond? Valari nodded. If we collapse the walls between us completely, if we become one mind. He didn't hesitate. Let's do it. They sat, closed their eyes and reached. This time there was no gentle link, no soft touch. It was fire. Their minds slammed together. Memories tangled, emotions exploded, joy and sorrow became one wave. Jay saw her childhood. Valari saw his future. Pain was shared, but also strength. Fear was drowned in unity. They were no longer two beings. They were one, and in that moment the glowing barrier cracked and shattered. The guards rushed in, confused, but Jace and Valari stood, glowing with a soft white light. Their bond had collapsed the barrier, not just the physical one, but the mental one too. As the mind eaters descended toward the station, the others prepared for death. But two figures walked to the command center hand in hand, and for the first time in recorded history, two species were no longer alien to each other. They were connected. Let me know when you're ready for part 6. The merge. It will build on this new power and take the stakes even higher. You said, start with part 6. More unique ChatGPT said, title, Alien Girl Teaches Mental Intimacy to This Man, and it turns. Out humans are very good at it. HFY part 6, the merge word count, 8 and 50 words. Style, third person, simple basic English, highly unique, emotional, and sci-fi suspense. The stars outside the station dimmed. Something was coming. Across the galaxy, warnings had always been the same. Mind eaters didn't use ships or weapons. They didn't invade with armies. They invaded with thought. They whispered directly into the hearts of the living and turned their deepest pain into destruction. Most species collapsed in seconds. Now they were here. And the only ones calm in the chaos were Jace and Valari. The station's command deck was in panic. Screens flickered. Power grids dropped. Scientists shouted as mental defenses fell one by one. The Siren elders gathered in a protective circle, their hands glowing with pale blue energy, trying to build a psychic shield. It was already cracking. But then, Valari entered, walking side by side with Jace. Their hands were linked, their steps steady. Their bodies looked the same, but something inside them was different now. The lights near them flickered and pulsed, not from fear but from resonance. The lead Siren elder stepped forward. What have you become? Valari answered, her voice blended with Jace's tone. One sound, two minds. Something neither of us could become alone. Jace looked at the elder. You tried to teach through control. We learned through connection. Valari added, you feared the bond, but the bond is our shield. A sudden wave of emotion hit the room. It wasn't fear, it was sorrow. Everyone gasped. Scientists fell to their knees. Guards dropped their weapons. Some wept uncontrollably. The Mind Eaters had arrived, and their attack had begun. The sorrow deepened. Lost mothers, broken homes, lonely memories, past regrets. It filled the station like dark water. It crushed hope. It erased strength. Except, two hearts remained standing. Jace clenched his jaw. Valari closed her eyes. And then, they reached out. The merge began. Jace opened his soul. He showed Valari everything. His guilt, his fear, his love. He didn't hide a single emotion. Valari returned it all, her loneliness, her exile, her longing to belong. Together they embraced every emotion, light and dark, strong and weak. Their bodies began to glow, not just light but warmth. A golden pulse surged from their joined hands. It grew, spreading outward like a living shield. Every sorrow that hit them, they didn't block it, they absorbed it, they felt the pain of others, and returned it with comfort. A technician collapsed from grief. Jace felt her loss. Valari sent back calm. The woman sat up, blinking. One by one, minds began to recover. The mind-eaters pushed harder. Anger, now. Despair. The kind that breaks civilizations. Jace shouted through the bond, "They want us to break, so let's give them what they don't expect." Valari responded, "Let's give them unity." Together they unleashed everything they had. Every shared memory, every touch, every tear, every smile, every moment of trust, kindness, and connection. It struck the mind-eaters like a wave of light, blinding, honest, and pure. For the first time ever, the mind-eaters withdrew. They could not feed on the bond. They could not understand it. They could not break it. The attack ended. Silence returned to the station, and in that silence, every species present turned toward the merged pair. They didn't know what to call them anymore. Not just human, not just Siren. Something new. Valari opened her eyes. Jace was still beside her, breathing deeply. They looked around. Hundreds of beings stared, not with fear, but with awe. One young Siren child stepped forward and asked softly, "Are you two one person now?" Jace knelt down. "We're still ourselves, but now we carry each other." Valari added, "And through us, others can learn to carry each other too." The council met again, but this time they didn't argue. They listened. For once science gave way to wonder, and fear gave way to hope. Jace and Valari weren't just an accident. They were a beginning, a blueprint. And somewhere deep in the archives of the galaxy, a new entry was added. Species classification, hybrid mental symbiotic pair, primary trait, emotional fusion. Threat level, unknown. Hope level, high. The galaxy remembered the day the mind-eaters retreated. No army had stopped them before. No fleet, no shield, no species had ever made them turn back. But two minds, one human, one Siren, had stood side by side and simply felt. And that changed everything. Weeks passed. Jace and Valari no longer lived in separate quarters. They didn't need to. Their minds remained joined, a soft presence always humming between them like quiet music. They walked through the station together. Every alien who passed them paused. Some bowed, some smiled, some simply stared. They were no longer just a man and a woman. They were the bonded, the first true pair of emotional unity across species lines. One day, as Valari watered the silver-leafed garden that floated in zero gravity, Jace watched her from behind. Not with desire, not with pride, just peace. "You've been quiet," she said without turning. "I'm just thinking," Jace answered. "You're always thinking." "This time it's important." She turned slowly. Her long hair shimmered in the sun lamps. "What is it?" He stepped closer. "Why did it work? Why us?" Valari tilted her head. "Because you let me in." "No," Jace said. "More than that. I've seen other species try. I've read the reports. Emotional bonding has been tested before, but it always broke apart. Why didn't we break?" She smiled softly. "Because you didn't fear pain. You welcomed it." Later that evening, the council summoned them again. But this time there was no judgment, no walls, no force fields, only questions. 12 races sent delegates. The council hall had expanded to fit all of them. It looked more like a cathedral now than a courtroom. Jace and Valari stood in the center. The Siren elder, now older, quieter, spoke first. "We used to believe that feelings were tools, measured, controlled, something to observe. But you two use them like weapons." Jace shook his head. "Not weapons, bridges," Valari continued. "The mind is not only logic, it is music, pain, beauty. To connect is to trust, and trust begins where fear ends." The Nalkari representative, whose species communicated only through scent, released a cloud of blue gas, their version of a respectful salute. "We wish to try this bond," the Nalkari said. Then the Garoon, a crystalline race who had never spoken aloud, blinked their lights in rapid rhythm. "We too. With your guidance." More followed. Species who had never dared emotional closeness now wanted to learn. Jace looked around and said quietly, "Then we'll teach." A new center was created. It wasn't a lab. It wasn't a temple. It was something in between, a place for sharing. Place for silence. A place where different species could sit together and feel. They called it the Heart Chamber. Jace and Valari were its first guides. Some days were hard. A Stal warrior nearly collapsed during an early session. His memory of war was too heavy. Valari steadied him, her hand on his shoulder, her mind gently surrounding his rage with compassion. Other days, they watched miracles. Two rivals from enemy planets sat in silence, and after 20 minutes of stillness, cried in each other's arms. Jace once said to Valari, "This is stronger than any weapon." She replied, "Because it reaches places no weapon can go." But not everyone approved. Whispers of fear spread through the outer colonies. "They're changing minds," some said. "They're creating weakness," others warned. And soon, one angry voice rose above the rest. A political leader from the Iron World stepped forward on broadcast. "Humans are losing their edge. You think feelings will win wars? No. This is how civilizations fall, through softness." Valerie saw the broadcast. She didn't flinch. Instead, she told Jace, "Let's show them, not tell them." The leader was invited to the Heart Chamber. Arrived, armored and cold, flanked by guards. He refused to sit, arms crossed, face tight. "I don't believe in this," he said. "You can't change my mind." Jace smiled. "We're not here to change your mind, just to let you feel." He didn't sit, but Valari gently stepped forward and extended a hand. "You don't need to open your thoughts, just breathe." He didn't move for 10 seconds. Then with a grunt he sat. Just for a moment, just long enough. And when he left that room, his hands were shaking. He never said what he saw, but he never spoke against the program again. Years passed. Bonded pairs began to appear across the stars. Human and alien, alien and alien. Even synthetic minds joined with organics through guided trust sharing. Valari gave the practice a name. The Merge Path. Jace called it something simpler. Feeling without fear. They published no rules, no strict code, only one guideline. You must let someone see the part of yourself you always hide. And you must see theirs, and still stay. One day, far from the station, a distress signal reached them. A colony under psychic attack. A remnant of the Mind-Eaters had returned, the fleet prepared for war. But Jace and Valari had a different idea. They arrived alone. No weapons, no fleet, only their connection. As the Mind-Eaters surrounded the colony, trying to flood the minds with despair, Jace and Valari opened their bond wide, far wider than ever before. Every mind in the colony felt it. Hope, warmth, a memory of being loved, a moment of being held, a whisper of "you are not alone." And the Mind-Eaters? They screamed, they fled, as if the feeling itself had burned them. Jace collapsed afterward. Valari held him, her tears falling silently. "You gave too much," she said. He smiled, eyes half closed. "I had you to hold me. That's all I need." In time, they grew older. They passed leadership of the Heart Chamber to others, and one quiet evening, under the starlight dome of their garden, Valari leaned her head against Jace's chest. "Do you think they'll remember us?" she asked. Jace kissed the top of her head. "No," he said. "They'll remember what we felt, and that would be enough." Epilogue. Centuries later, a young Siren girl sat in her academy's library, reading a hollow book titled The First Merge. On the final page was a quote, simple, short, but stronger than any weapon. When we stopped fearing pain, we found each other, and when we found each other, we saved the stars. Jason Villari, the first bonded, the girl closed the book, her eyes misty, her heart full, and she knew her people would never be the same.